Hey, y'all, welcome to another great episode of Late Night Podcast with Bridget and Holly. I'm your host, Bridget.
And I'm your host, Holly.
And y'all, we're going to talk about words to live by. Things our parents taught us when we was young, and it's things that honestly have stuck with us all this time, and it means a lot to us. And we want to share their wisdom with you. So tonight we feel like this is kind of a tribute because both of Holly's parents are passed away. My dad's passed away. And this is more of a tribute to what they instilled in us, the legacy they left with us, and we want to talk about that. We want to honor them today, and especially with the holidays coming up. My mind's been on my dad a lot. I know you've probably been thinking a lot about your parents, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something that happened today with me. But I'm gonna wait a minute. I'm gonna let you talk for a second. But what do you think about this, Holly? What do you have to say about this particular show? You think you're gonna like it?
I do because, like you said, the holidays are coming around, and I swear I really think that we're twins because you're about to share something that happened with you, and I'm gonna share something that happened with me like the other night that was just crazy. But I do want to say before we get started, y'all, make sure if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button and that bell so you'll be notified every Tuesday and every Friday when our podcast drop at 11 p.m. And don't forget that we're also on Spotify. So that way you can be driving to work and listening to our advice for you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. So today, I had to go down in Charlotte and do feet injections, and this is just a reminder to people. And I might get a little sappy here, but this is just a reminder to people that if you still have your parents, set some time aside to spend with them, because I promise you, once they're gone, you can't get it back,
Yep.
and you're going to want it back. There's not going to be a day that goes by that you're not going to want it back. And your parents might say, well, come hang out with me, spend some time with me, come and eat with me, just come. And you've got your life's busy and stuff, but I'm telling you, put some things on hold and go sit with them and talk to them, because they got wisdom to share.
Yep.
They've got company to give, and you won't regret it. So today, I had to go get feet injections, and I was riding down there, and my dad loved 70s music. He loved Stevie Nicks, and Fleetwood Mac. He loved Blue Oyster Cult, Three Dog Night. I know some of those might not ring a bell to y'all, and then some of y'all might be. I know exactly who that is. He loved,
Yep.
different songs like Kansas, Dust in the Wind. He loved all that stuff. And I remember as a little girl hearing, he used to have records. That's back when records was big, and he had records and a record player, and he would play that, and you would hear him, going through the house cleaning and singing, and or sitting in the living room just tapping his foot on his recliner, and he was singing. So he loved 70s music. So whenever I want to feel close to my dad, I play 70s songs. And so I was coming back from Charlotte, and I had my radio blaring, and I had my 70s songs on, and I was just, like singing at the top of my lungs. You know what I'm saying? Just singing, and I was just dancing, and I was like, "Come on, Daddy, let's sing it, Daddy. Come on, Daddy, let's sing." And girl, I went into a screaming, crying fit, saying how much I loved him and I missed him. And I said, "Daddy, you left me too young, and I still need you." I said, I've needed you really bad the last 7 or 8 years. I need you. I need you. But it was bittersweet. You know what I'm saying? I want my dad to be here and spend time with me, but I'm also glad he's not here to see where the world is today, because it's in a terrible place.
Yeah. I think
But
about that with my mom a lot. Like even I lost my dad at a young age. I think about that with my mom. Like she died, like 2 years before the pandemic, and as sick as she was, I don't think she would have made it. I think she would have been part of the that statistics of people
yeah,
passing away,
yeah,
during COVID. And just it's so weird how much the world is changing just from a lot of years to even just a few years
yep,
right
yep,
now. And
yep,
I don't know how they would have done
yeah,
living in the
yeah,
world how it is today. Like it's just so much different, and things are so bad, and it's horrible. So
yeah.
then you got to think your dad's not suffering anymore. My mom and dad's not suffering anymore. They
That's right.
are in a better place where they can look down on us and be happy and not be in pain anymore as well.
Yeah. It's sad for us. You know what I'm saying? And the selfish side of me wishes he was still here, but
Me
I
too.
I know he's in a better place, and I know that I know I trust and believe that I will see him again one day. Boy, I got a lot to tell him when I see him.
I know, right? If they ain't watching us nonstop, we gonna be chatterboxes when we
Yeah.
see them,
All
for
right, so I'm
sure.
gonna let you start. What is some things that your mom or dad, shared with you, and go into a little detail about that? What it means and things like that.
So for me, a lot of y'all don't know, but I was a daddy's girl growing up until, well, up until really the time he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my mom really bonded when he was sick,
Oh,
and we were always together. We were taking care of my dad. We were taking care of my niece because my sister and my brother, they both worked,
right.
and so it was just always, me and mom at home.
Yeah.
And so it I learned some stuff from him, but because it's been so long ago that he passed away, because I was only 16,
Yeah.
it's like you remember them, but then you forget a lot too, because it's almost like it fades. But I know
Yeah.
it does that because that's what helps you with your grieving process.
It
So
does.
I do remember a few things, sayings that he told me that helped me along the way, but most of mine come from my mama, because when my dad was sick and we bonded like that, she become my ultimate best friend. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and when you said, like, when your parents want you to spend time with them, you want to do that because you're not promised tomorrow.
Right.
And I know I shouldn't feel bad about this, but I'll never forget that I was at a hair appointment and I was getting my hair done, and my mom had called me, and this was probably almost a year before she passed away, and she had wanted a sandwich from Subway. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was all she wanted. She didn't want anything else. Well, I didn't make it out of that hair salon in time to get her sandwich from Subway. And she had called me. She was like, did you get my sub? And I was like, no. I was like, Mama, they were already closed. I was like, but where do you want something else to eat from? And she was like, I don't want anything else. She was like, I wanted that. And that weighs on my mind sometimes. I mean, I don't think she, is still mad at me about that, but I think about that a lot because I'm like, why didn't I get her sandwich first? Or why didn't I keep up with the time and say, okay, I know you're not done, but I've got to go get something for my mama, because when my dad died, I told him I would always be there for her. And he told me to promise him that I would do whatever she needed. And I did. I held up that promise to him and I kept it. And I took her everywhere, from doctor's appointments to going shopping, going out to eat, even just taking a ride through the country so she could reminisce about the old times with her and my
Mm-hmm.
dad, and how things used to be back then, and oh, this building used to be here and there, and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you really aren't promised tomorrow, and once your parents are gone, you can't get that back. And make sure you take tons of pictures, get their voice on recordings, make videos. I'm glad I did that with my mom. I've
Mm-hmm.
got like little funny Snapchats with her, and tons of videos we recorded, and pictures and things like that. So that's just really important, because it's time that you won't get back. But
Right.
one of the sayings that I would like to start with is, my daddy always told me this. He would always say, no question is a dumb question. And what he meant by that is that's how you gain knowledge. That's how you learn things. And he would say, don't ever be afraid to ask somebody a question.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but Didi, that's dumb, and I feel dumb because I didn't know it. He's like, no question is a dumb question. He's like, that's how you find out answers, and that's how you learn and how you get smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I always listen to that. And there are times where I'll ask the question, I'm like, dang, that does sound really dumb, but I didn't know the answer to it.
Right. Right.
And so I do. I still live by that saying to this day. No question is a dumb question.
I think that's wise. That's wise advice. That's definitely some wisdom to live by, because you're exactly right. I mean, I'd rather ask a question and be dumb. The question's dumb. But if you don't ask the question, number one, you never know. Or number two, if you get ready to do something, you're gonna do it wrong and look even stupider. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that was good. I like that. And going back to your parents, you're exactly right. And I will tell you, it's funny how you was talking about your mom and not doing that for her. It's funny how at the moment, I mean, you noticed it and you realized, man, I hate I couldn't do that. But you don't realize how that shit haunts you later. It will
It
haunt you.
does. It
Um,
really, really does.
yeah, because I had a situation with my dad where before he passed away, my dad, he always kept a tidy house, but as he got sicker, he couldn't keep it up as much as he used to. It needed to be dusted. It wasn't like filthy, but it needed to be
Right.
dusted. Like things need to be picked up. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna be shocked with this. I'd have to tell you some whole stories about this because you ain't gonna believe it. But about a week before my dad passed away, I'd never done it before in my life, but something come over me and said, "You need to go clean your daddy's house. He's gonna need that house clean, because he's a prideful man, and you need to go clean your house." And I thought, why do I need to clean? Ain't nobody coming to his house. I was arguing with myself. And I told Ronnie that we need to go clean it, and he said, "We will." But girl, we got busy. We had kids. We had 4 kids to raise. Things just got busy, and the time got away from me, and I didn't do it. The next week, he passed away. There was paramedics at his
Oh,
house, and when people pass away, everybody comes to their house to, comfort you and stuff. And I know my daddy would have been ashamed that his house wasn't more tidy than it was
oh, and
when
you
that
beat
happened.
yourself up about
I
it.
have beat myself up unbelievably about that.
Oh, it's hard,
Unbelievably.
and it's hard. It's like we know our parents love us and loved us no matter what. So we know, like, if our kids did that, we would not be mad at them and not love them any less. But it's still hard because you just still think that way, you know?
I can't say that though. I think even though we're parents, we're humans, and when our kids let us down, it hurts. And I think when I let him down, I think that hurt him. I think he felt like I don't. He didn't know I was coming to clean, so that was a surprise. But I think he knows I should have done more for him at the end than I did. But I was so tied up with my own family, I didn't. That's one of them things I wish to God he was still here today, because the older I've got, the more smarter I've got, and the more wiser, and I would have thanked him a lot more than I did back in my 20s and early 30s. He died when
Yeah.
I was 30. I wasn't even 31 yet. So one of the things that he shared with me, and I've shared this with you, is he said, "Bridge, knowledge is power. Be careful what you tell people and how much they tell people," because he said the more information people know about you, the more power they have over you and your life.
Uh
The more
huh.
control they can have over you. He said, so limit what you share with people, because knowledge is power.
And I do that too. And I would say, from that saying that you say, my dad always used to tell me, don't play all your cards in one hand. And
Yeah,
I think that goes neck and neck
yeah.
with that, because you don't want to reveal so much. Because I mean, there's sometimes I'll play stupid, knowing I know this or that, because you're exactly right. That can give somebody so much power over you. And you
Mm-hmm.
know I those two go neck and neck, neck and
That's right.
neck.
They do. They do.
And
Uh,
you tell me that all the time,
I
all
do.
the
Knowledge
time.
is power. Be careful what you share.
Yep.
I don't care if it can be to your family, your friend, your closest
Yeah.
friends. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I've seen families be tore apart. I've seen lovers become haters and divorced. You know what I'm saying? And separated. I've seen children turn against their parents. So be
Yeah.
careful what you share with, who you share it with, because if you do, and you give somebody too much knowledge about you, they can destroy you if they want to.
Yep.
You know.
And we've seen it done. People will. They will destroy you.
Yep.
Um, One that my mom used to tell me, and I love this because she would always tell me this, because I am a worrywart. I am somewhat a hypochondriac, but it is mellowed out. Like, Bridget, me and you've been best friends for quite a while now, and I don't even think you've seen that side of me because I've got it so much under control now.
Good.
And I talk to you, and I will worry, and I'll say, "Oh, Bridget, what about this or that?" And you're like, "No, you're fine," and then I calm down. But it used to be really, really bad. I was always at the doctor's office, always at the ER, urgent care, whatever. And she always told me, and I love this saying, and I still live by it and use it today. Worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere.
That's right.
And she would always tell me that, and don't worry about something until you have something to worry about. Those were the two sayings that she said to me all the time when it came to worrying. And I would
Mhm.
try and listen to her. I really would. I would tell myself that and say, okay, listen to your mama. She knows best. Listen to her. But it took me a very, very long time to learn, okay, worrying is really useless. I'm going to spend a lot of time worrying and not living because
That's right.
I don't want to be 50 and 60 years old and being like, dang, I didn't live. All I did was worry.
That's
And
right.
now here I am getting older. My good years are gone. So I'm glad I did wise up with that. And again, like I said, I do still have my worrying moments, but now it's more, I don't worry until something odd is happening.
Right.
That's what I try to let come through instead of just constantly worrying.
Worrying. Yeah, that's great advice because it's exactly right. It doesn't solve a thing. It doesn't solve a thing. Y'all, if you
Right.
hear snoring, if you hear this snoring sound, it's Ruger over here.
Is
He is
baby
cutting wires.
Ruru.
Yeah.
Is baby Ruru.
So my first husband had cheated on me. And I went to my dad and I was talking to my dad, what do I do? Da 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 da. I've caught him cheating, but he said it was the first time. I tell my daddy that. My Scott said it was the first time. I'm gonna say his name. Damn that shit. And my daddy says, "Let me tell you something. If you caught him, he said he's been doing it longer than he says he has, and more than he says he has." And I said, "Why do you say that, Dad?" And he says, "Because he said you ain't that good at catching him, and he ain't that bad at getting caught that you do it on the very first time."
Wow.
And I thought about that and I said, "What do you mean, Dad?" And he said, "Listen," he said, "when people first start cheating or stealing, like you might be stealing from work, you might be embezzling money, you might be lying to somebody, whatever you're doing that you get caught doing, when you first start, you're going to be extra careful. You're nervous. You don't want to get caught. You want to dot all your I's and cross all your T's. But then after you've been doing it for a while, you start getting confident and you start getting messy, and that's when you
Start
get
slacking
caught.
off.
And that's when you get caught. So he said, if you caught him, it's been going on a while because you ain't so good. You caught him the very first time he did it, and he ain't so bad he got caught the first time he did it. And man, has that stuck with
Damn.
me for a long time.
Yeah, that's a good one though. That's about
Mm-hmm.
like that saying they say once a cheater, always a cheater. Now I
Mm-hmm.
will say, I honestly I don't fully believe in that
I
for
don't either.
certain reasons, and maybe we'll have a podcast about it in the future. But there is proof that once a cheater, always a cheater is not true. But
I don't
it's
think.
probably about 50-50, 50-50, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
that's good. And say that saying one more time. He said what now?
He said if you caught him, it's you're not so good you caught him the first time doing it, and he's not so bad he got caught the first time doing it.
I like that. I
I
like
do too.
that. That's one for the books right there.
Yeah,
That's one for the books.
definitely.
Um Another one that my daddy used to tell me this, and he would say, don't fast forward to life because you'll miss all the good stuff along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would always say, I want to grow up. I'm ready to grow up. I'm ready to be an adult. I don't want to be little anymore. And he was right because have you ever met anybody who bawled like a baby when they turned 20,
Mm.
20 years old?
Mm-mm.
Because I think what did it for me remembering him saying that is because after he passed, I was like, dang, my daddy's gone and I'd do anything to be back little again. But I
Yeah.
would always say, Daddy, I want to be a grown up. I want to get a job. It wasn't ever, oh, I want to move out the house. It was just, I want to grow up. I want to have my own money. I want to drive, have my own car. And I'll never forget because we were actually sitting in his bedroom, and he was sitting in there watching TV, and I went and sat beside him, and I remember I had my head on the shoulder, and I was like, Daddy, I was like, I can't wait to grow up. And that's when he told me, that's when he said it, and I was like, wow. And just thinking about it, so now I really think about it as I'm getting older, because I don't want life to go by so fast. I want to slow time down. It
Yeah.
needs to slow down.
Yeah, and enjoy
So
it a
I
little
thought
bit.
that
And
was,
that is smart.
yeah,
And that puts me in the mind of, remember the movie Click? That's what he did.
click.
You've never
Oh
watched Click
yeah,
with
with
Adam
Adam
Sandler?
Sandler.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that movie with the remote.
Yeah. And that would
Yep.
remind me of what your dad's saying, because he kept fast forwarding through moments of his life, and the next thing you know, he gets to the end, and he wished he could go back and live it all again.
Yeah. God, I
So
forgot
that's,
about that movie.
yeah, so your dad was smart to say that. That's good. That's good.
Oh,
Okay, so another one my dad used to tell me is believe half of what you see and none of what you hear.
I've heard that one. That is a very
Mm-hmm.
good one.
Mm-hmm.
That is a,
He
my
used to
parents
tell
have
me all
told
the
me
time.
that one too.
Yep, he always used to say, listen, if you hear something, don't believe it. Don't believe a bit of it. Don't believe none of it. And if you actually see it, there might be more to the story than what you're seeing.
Yep.
So he said, only believe half what you see. And I've remembered that. And I don't like, if somebody comes to me and tells me bad stuff about somebody, like if you'd come up to me and you'd say, hey, did you hear about so and so? Blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm going to meet that person and I'm going to decide for myself because
Yeah.
I'm not going to believe nothing you tell me when it comes to stuff like that. I want to figure it out for myself. I think that's
Yep.
smart.
Because you want to hear it from the source itself.
Yep.
Because I could be telling you something I know that, Trish over here told me, but Trish heard it from Brenda,
Mm-hmm.
who Brenda heard from Jocelyn, who left something out along the way that makes it a complete different story
That's
by the
right.
time it gets to us.
That's
And
right.
that's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Um okay, here's another one that my mama always used to tell me is
Uh-huh.
always tell the truth and always be yourself.
Yep.
And I live by that because one thing you never want, and I have instilled this in Joanna's head too. One thing you never want to be called is a liar, because when you get that reputation, it follows you around for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
It follows you around, and I take pride in telling the truth. Now, will I tell a little white lie? Somebody was to say, "Oh my God, I'm so fat." You are not fat. You just got a little extra meat on your bones. I'm never gonna tell. You know, I
You
don't
done
do
said
that to
that to
you, though,
me.
baby.
You done
I
said
don't.
that to me.
I don't do that to you, baby. I don't do that.
Yeah, okay.
I do not. But like
Okay.
I don't never want to hurt anybody's feelings. I might do like a little white lie or something, but um, that's one thing I can honestly say that people can say about me. I always told the truth. Um, I never crapped on my friends. I'm good at holding secrets, except for when it's presents. Okay, I can't help it. I can't help it. But people can honestly say, Lord forbid, 40 years down the road, it can be like, Holly was always, a good person, sweet. She always told the truth. And, I take pride in that, because you get that reputation. Nobody's never going to, it's like the boy that cried wolf. He did it
That's
so
right.
many times. And when he finally cried wolf for real, everybody was like, fuck you, bye. You,
Yeah, they
you
didn't
trying to
believe
pull the
him.
wool over our eyes.
That's
And
right.
then, it's always good to be yourself as well. Don't ever try and be fake and be somebody that you're not. Be proud of who you are and where you come from.
That's right.
Because you being the true you will get you so much further in life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is made to be different. We
Mm-hmm.
are not made to be the same.
Mm-mm. And one of my sayings, this didn't come from my dad, but one of my sayings is, I'd rather be loved for who I am than hated for who, or I would rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not.
I love that. I like
Yeah,
that. That's another one for the books too.
that's mine though.
I
Anyhow,
like
so
that.
from my dad, another one was, and I know everybody's heard this, but I say it all the time: his side, her side, and the truth. I think there's three sides to every story. Three sides to
Yeah.
every story you hear. So if you're sitting there and you're listening to somebody, just know that's their side. Don't immediately be like, and I'll tell you all the time. I'll tell you a story, and you'll say, "Oh no, Bridge, I agree with you," and I'll say, "Well, you're agreeing with my side, but you hadn't heard their side yet, and they might have some valid points. I don't know." I always play devil's advocate when it comes to stuff like that. Anyway, I
All
have.
right.
Yeah, I like that one. His side, her side, and the truth. He always told me that.
That's a good one. This one is just plain and simple because I get everybody's heard saying that everything happens for a reason, and I do believe in that. But I also believe in what my mama said. Shit happens. There's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be times where something happens and there's no reason for it. Just shit literally happens. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't go crazy saying, well, God, why did this happen? I wonder what's going on. Like, there's got to be a reason. There's not always going to be a reason. In life, literally, shit just happens and you're never going to know why. It's just something that does. And I try and keep that in my head because you know how superstitious I am anyway, and how I worry. So every time something happens, I'm like, well, God, did this happen for a reason? Well, you don't think this is going to happen. And then I hear Mama in my head saying, Holly, shit just happens. Get over it.
Yeah, and that's the truth. That's good advice right there. That is true.
Yeah, because
We
not
sit like
everything
it's.
happens. There's not a reason behind it. And I've learned to deal with that, and some people can't, but I recommend that you do because God has a plan for all of us, but sometimes things are just going to happen that
Now, do you
he
think that
can't even
everything
control.
happens for a reason? Do you believe that everything?
I used to, and I was really really big on it, and I would worry myself so much trying to figure out why this happened and why that happened, until my mama talked to me. She just said, her saying is shit happens, and I was like, well, God, you are right, because something happened and nothing ever comes out of it. It's just something that just happened. It's just
Yeah.
a hiccup along the way. Now, what
Hmm.
is your take on that? Are you like that too? Like, you believe sometimes shit just happens, or do you believe there's a reason for everything that happens?
I think there's a reason for everything.
Everything,
Hmm. I mean, I
really?
understand sometimes you have to take the mentality that shit just happens because you can't figure out why it is. I don't think that we're meant to know everything and why everything happened until the end.
Yeah,
You think to yourself, well, why did all this shit happen to me when I was a kid, and why did my mom leave me, and why did my dad have to die when I was 30 instead of me getting to keep him longer because I didn't have a mom? Well, why? I don't know why it's all happened. I think there's reasons behind it. And I think, if you believe in the Bible and if you believe in heaven, you believe that we'll know the answer one day. But I believe everything, because you got to think everything that's happened to you in your life and everything that's happened to me has brought us to where we are today. If any one of
yeah,
those things, if we learned anything from Back to the Future, if any one of those things would have changed, it could have changed the whole course of life.
yeah, that's true. Well, now, I believe that though, like stuff like that. Sorry, my eyes like giving me a little trouble. Um, I believe that. I believe everything like that happens for a reason. I totally
Mhm.
believe that. But I'm meaning like the little stuff, like things that, like, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. Like, let's see, it was in 2022.
Mhm.
Yeah, in 2022, December 2022,
Mhm.
Jason was coming from a store, and it was when the time had changed.
Mhm.
And so it was getting dark at like 5:20, 5:30. Well, it was raining, and what the accident he had would have been called a T-bone, because he was leaving the parking lot, crossing over, and then this old man was coming. It was pouring down rain, and he didn't have his headlights on, and he hit Jason, so he T-boned him. But thank God, usually when there's a T-bone, it ends up being, how Jason was pulling out. It was supposed to be his fault. But Jason had a witness that stayed there and told the cops it was not his fault. This man did not have his lights on and all that stuff. So I feel like when stuff like that happens, it's just a stroke of bad luck, because thank God he didn't get hurt, or anything like that. But I beat myself up and I'm like, why did that happen? Why did that happen? And I just try to think, it's just shit just happens. It was just a stroke of bad luck. And
But what if, okay, yes, I know the guy had his lights off, But what if Jason would have took another second to pay attention and could have avoided it and saw an image or saw something coming instead of just assuming and taking off? And by that happening, what if that stopped him from like the weeks up after wreck, you're always more vigilant and paying attention.
Having a
So
worse accident.
yeah, a worse accident.
So
Like
I
that
thought that
happened.
too.
Yeah, that
I
happened
did
to
it.
prevent something bigger. But you know what? Now that you're telling the story, I know exactly why that happened.
Really?
Yeah, to teach him to take out trash more.
You know what? That you right. You right. And did it work? Fuck no. Now, I will have to say I did come home tonight and the trash was taken out after it was piled up for about, about 2 days. I had to
Mhm.
ask them or nothing. Come home and I was like, oh shit. Oh shit, the trash was dumped.
That
But
wreck,
yeah,
it was
you
that
right.
wreck.
You right. You right on that one.
Oh Lord. Anyhow, so my dad used to tell me, and this went back to my husband cheating. Okay, he said if you're going to stay, then you have to forgive and forget. But if you can't forgive and forget, you got to leave.
Yes.
He said it will never work if I stay and I don't forgive and forget.
That's true. And then have you ever heard the saying that like people say that I I can forgive you, but I'll never forget? Because a lot of
Yeah.
people say that I'll always forgive you, but I'll never ever forget. So those two, again, I think go hand in hand. But yours is better because if you don't forget, you're gonna be miserable. Even if you
Mhm.
just forgive and you can't forget, you just
But you go
you
back, like I said, I hate to push the biblical stuff, and I'm not. I am a Christian. I'm a Christian, so that's the reason. But you may
right.
not be. I may not be. And if you're not a Christian and you don't believe this, just understand that this is one of the things you might not agree with me on. But if you are a
Who
Christian, it
me? Are
goes
you
back
talking to
to
the audience? Never mind.
the audience, yeah. So or both. But if you
Well,
aren't,
you know where
so
I stand.
I know. So if you aren't, you have to realize that just forgive it. But the Bible does say that in Corinthians, First Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind. It says it keeps no record of wrongdoings. So even the Bible says you're not supposed to keep those records. If you forgive, let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
truly forgive. And that I think this gonna be my last one from my mama always told me if you hold a grudge, it will hold you back. And I wanna
Yep.
end it on my end with that because that goes perfect with
Yeah.
what you just said because I don't hold a grudge and I always try and tell too like my friends and family members like don't hold a grudge because they're winning and when you hold a grudge against somebody, it consumes all of you.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does because you're constantly angry and mad and thinking about it. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the same thing where somebody be like, oh, I hate such and such. I hate such and such. And when I was little, of course, I'd be like, oh, I hate this person. But I'm older now and I don't even say that. Like, I I will say I don't like this person because I feel like hate is such a strong word. And when you
Mm-hmm.
say you hate somebody, they're winning. That's them
Mm-hmm.
having power over you and bringing anger out when you don't need it.
Mm-hmm. Living rent free in your head and your emotions. That's the truth.
Yes.
Girl, you done. I got tons. My daddy was a wise man, and he shared a lot of wisdom.
I got a lot more too, but I figured I'd save them
Oh Lord, I
because
can't say
I
these. Let's keep going. Let's keep going just a little bit longer. So, okay, another one my dad would say is peace above all things. Okay, so he basically meant protect your peace because you can't let just what you're saying, like grudges and stuff, you can't let stuff like that destroy you. You got to keep your peace. And if keeping your peace means pushing certain people away from you, if it means letting certain situations go that you desperately want to fix, but you know you can't, you got to learn what you can control and what you can't. But always protect your peace because it's so important to your mental health and your livelihood every day.
yeah, that's a good one to live by too. That's a
Mm-hmm.
really good one. I mean, that's true. You gotta protect that. Um, I got another one. Um, that my mom and my dad both told me was always know your worth.
Girl,
And you
yes.
really want to live by that because your worth how can I put it? Like, you're worth more than what most people will give you credit for. And it's just like having certain jobs.
Hmm.
You know, you go to a job and you're very well experienced and you know you can do this job and you know you deserve like, 15, $20 an hour. But then they're gonna sit there and pay you $9 an hour, $8 an hour, knowing that you deserve more than that. Like, know your worth. And not even just with jobs, but just know your worth even as a person when you're in relationships.
Yep.
Know that you're worth more than what you're being given and all that in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, just know that you deserve more. So I always know your worth. Always know your worth.
I'm glad you shared that. See, that's a good one. You could have left that off.
That is a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Okay, so another one my dad would tell me is he said, when you're young and you look out the door and you see your friends coming, you get so excited. You're like, oh my God, here comes my friends. But when you get older, you look out the door and you see them coming, you're like, here them son of a bitches come again. Well, what that dad is basically telling me is that you learn as you get older that people are not always for you, and they're not always, your friends are not always good news. A lot of times they want to
Oh,
use you, they want to lie to you, they want to, all this stuff. And he was just letting me know, just know that as life changes, those people you're calling friends today might not be your friends later on in life.
I've never heard that. And I've heard keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. I've
Yeah.
always heard that one. That's like a classic that I think
I
everybody
think
goes
that was
by.
just one of my dad's little special ones.
I
you know.
love, but I love that, like hearing just different ones, because that's how these become life lessons and
That's right.
words of wisdoms.
Yep.
Because each generation is going to have something different for us to learn. Um, oh, I just read that one about the. I read that one about the grudge. Oh, um, my mama always told me this: never have regrets. Learn from your mistakes. There's so many people, and I never say that I regret doing this or regret doing that. I may say I hate I did this or I hate that I did that, but I don't believe in regrets, because regrets will weigh you down throughout life. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yep.
Nobody is fucking perfect. So
Yep.
if you fuck up, don't regret it. Just say, you know what? I made a mistake. I'll learn from it. You know?
like that. I like that tattoo. No regrets.
Yes, no regrets. Every time I think about that, that's what pops in my head is that commercial with the tattoo, no regrets.
No regrets.
That's so funny you said that, because as I was writing it down, that's what I thought about, and reading it, that's what I thought about.
Yep. So another one my dad would say is, don't think you're that damn special. Not everything's about you. And what he meant by that, like in other words, I'd come home from school and I'd say, Daddy, these girls were over there in a group and they were talking and they kept looking at me. They were talking about me. And he's like, no, don't think you're that damn special. Not everything's about you. He was trying to let me know that, don't worry about what other people say. That 9 times out of 10, more stuff's in my head than what's really going on. And don't
Yeah,
overanalyze the situation, because I've had people accuse me, well, you put a post up about me. Did you mean that towards me? And I wasn't even thinking about you when I said that. So
and
what
if
makes
you
you think you're
thinking
so?
it, then you did something.
Yeah, and what
You
makes
did
you think you're?
something
Yeah, and what makes you think you're so special to that I'm gonna be thinking about you 24/7? No, honey,
right.
you ain't that damn special. So that's what he was meaning by that, is don't let shit get in your head and don't let your mind run away with you, because 9 times out of 10 you might think somebody said something about you or thought something about you or was talking about you, and 9 times out of 10 they probably really wasn't. You
Yeah,
probably didn't even
that's
enter their
true.
mind.
Um.
All right, two more. You do one and I do one, and we'll save the rest for later. Okay?
Oh, okay. This is a good one, and this
Good.
is a classic, and everybody knows this one. But my mama and daddy always would tell me this: when life gives you lemons, make lemonade,
Yes, I like
because
that
life
one.
is not perfect. We're always gonna be throw that curveball. We're all gonna hit that speed bump in the road. Something's gonna knock us down a peg or two. Shit's gonna happen in life. It's just gonna be miserable for a little while. But when that happens, just try and make the best of it.
Yeah.
Just try and remember, hey, I'm alive today. Hey, my family's here. I got food on my table. I got a job. When things happen in your life and it brings you utterly down and makes you depressed, just at least focus on the positive of what you got right in front of you that's positive right now. I got air in my lungs. I am walking, talking, and living and breathing today.
Mm-hmm.
Like focus on
The good stuff.
what you got that's going on right now. Focus on the good stuff.
That's right. And that's very smart. I mean, even though it's an old saying, it's a good saying. So definitely. So another one my daddy used to say is that problems are like socks in a drawer. So what that basically means is you can take socks and put them in a drawer and keep stuffing them in a drawer and stuffing them in a drawer and stuffing them in a drawer, but eventually the bottom's going to fall out. And he said
Yes.
that when you have problems come up, you need to face them, you need to deal with them, you need to address them and solve them instead of just saying, well, I'm not going to worry about it today and push it aside, because then you're stuffing your sock in a drawer and eventually it'll all come out. And mental health wise and emotional wise, it's gonna bust out on you, and you've got to deal with your things as they happen.
That is definitely a good one that people should live by because it's I'll tell some of my friends and stuff like when they're going through something, I'm like, don't keep your emotions in. You just stuffing it inside, and
Yep.
you just gonna eventually explode.
Yep.
And it's better to let it out now and talk about it rather than letting it fester and fester and fester and fester. And
Hmm.
then it's like World War III. So
Right.
I love that. I've never heard that saying.
Like that's one of his. That's one of his little classic
Excuse me.
specials. That's one of his classic. My dad was such
I
a wise
love
man.
that.
Yeah, he raised me more for survival. You know, he raised me more for the real world because he was in
He wants you to be
Vietnam and
tough and have thick skin.
tough, tough. Very, and he
My
did. He
mama, well, I of course, like I said, I was a daddy's girl in the beginning, but I think my mama tried to toughen me up a little bit more than, of course, what my dad did, and tried to get me to kind of have a little bit thick skin. But then again, I'm a Cancer. I wear my heart and my emotions on my sleeve, and I'm very tenderhearted. Anybody that knows me can say, God, yeah, you're tenderhearted. You can say the littlest thing, and I can tear up. But I
I
don't know
never got to
why I'm
meet your
like that.
mama. I never got to meet your mama, but from what you tell me, she was a badass bitch.
She was, and Bridget, you and my mom would have got along so good. Like you
Mm-hmm.
remind me so much of her that it's insane.
Cause I'm a
It's
badass bitch.
I know, right? Like God, and especially, I know we're about to wrap this podcast up, but especially when it comes to advice, when I go to Bridget, like what she tells me, it literally is like my mama is talking to me. Which Bridget will tell you, like, yeah, I do call her. We're best friends, but I call her a mama too. Like she's like my mama, and
Hmm.
she will, like, she'll give me not advice to hurt me. She will give me the truth of advice that I need to hear, so she could be like, all right, Holly, wait, fuck up, listen. So I love that I have that with her because
Yeah.
it's like my mama's here all over again.
But you're not the only one that says that. Like my best friend Shelly, she tells her kids all the time, or even friends, if you need advice, call Bridget. She's got the best advice, blah blah blah. My kids will tell you that. My husband, my in-laws.
You
I,
missed your
I
calling.
well, let me say this. It's my dad. That's just my dad coming through me, because everything I
Yeah, but
share with other people, he taught me.
he taught you, but you also developed your own sense of it too as
Yeah,
you got older,
yeah.
and you really missed your calling. Like you honestly really need to like get up with Cosmo or US Weekly or whoever does Dear Abby and do Dear Bridget. Now I've always told you I'm good at helping people with their problems and stuff like that, and I'm good at giving advice. But the way you do it, I don't hold a candle. I don't hold a fucking
Oh,
candle to you
well,
because
thank
you
you.
just If the way you word it, you know exactly what to say.
Well, thank
Exactly
you.
what to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do. I attribute a lot of that to my dad. Some taught and some hereditary. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just, yep, some hereditary. Just, I do. But, yep. Anyhow, guys, do you have anything else, Holly?
No, just y'all make sure you embrace your parents. You know, if your dad calls you tomorrow and says, "Hey, would you come eat lunch with me?" and you're like, "Well, Dad, I'm kind of busy. I got to do this or that." Make time,
Yep.
because that could be the last time you could have had lunch with your dad
Yep.
or your mom, and
Right.
even with your aunts and your uncles and your cousins and your kids. Just make time for your family.
That for your
Make
loved
time
ones.
for
That's
them.
right. That's
Yep.
exactly right.
And
Well, y'all,
y'all,
we have. Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the bell, but don't forget we are on Spotify now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on Spotify. That's what I was going to say. Y'all make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're on Spotify every Tuesday and Friday at 11 p.m. And we hope y'all enjoyed this. Also, remember we have 2 new episodes coming up. Ask Bridget and Holly. And Holly just told you we're good advice givers. And confessions. And y'all can email that to us. The email is bridgetandholly@gmail.com. Until next time, bye, y'all.
Bye.